Welcome back. It's a good night for a story. We'll keep you company. Thanks for listening and or watching. Now, tonight's tale. When a pair of American sisters is attacked while on holiday in Ireland, the one survivor is promptly put aboard a plane back home, but with a change. Tonight's little snack is sworn to be nothing but true by one Martin McCampherson of West Nills upon Avon, UK. Well, color your humble narrator dubious, but here goes. A hand-painted green sign read Stone Circle Abbey, 1 kilometer. Katie was sure once she and River had made their way out of these hummocks of knee-high sawgrass, willows, and reeds, they'd see the twinkling lampstands of this small village. Better anyways, dusk had caught them unprepared when they double-backed over by a sheep gate that looked an awful lot like a gnarly Celt altar. Katie felt sure it was an ancient witching slab, and not the innocent animal grove that old shepherd had described under his whiskery, whiskey breath. Who on earth would mark a sheep gate and goat pen in Irish runes? And those bestial grunts they kept hearing hissing over the grades every now and again sure didn't sound like the bleating of any stray. Katie kept her misgivings to herself. River was having the time of her life on this trip. Why be a wet blanket? After all, they'd be damp enough if they didn't find shelter soon. Midsummer country rains were threatening beyond the glen, glints of lightning trading between thunderheads. It had been the elder sibling that had first suggested the idea of this European backpacking holiday the day her kid sister received a high school diploma. As River strode across the stage with cap and gown, roses and balloons in hand, Katie complained that their folks hadn't done anything after her high school promotion the year prior, and that she felt they owed them a little for being such exemplary children. Now look at them, circling in the dark and cold. At length the sisters breached a thick wood, streetlights before them. A defunct stonework slaughterhouse was the first structure to greet the arriving footfall of their tinnies. Decades-old stench colored the air, causing the pair to bury their noses deep in their collars. They were relieved beyond telling to find cobblestone streets converge at a bustling corner tavern, though the carved lamb's head over the door lintels was a little unsettling. "Are you sure we're old enough to go in? We might get carted." Katie answered River with a wink. "We're in Europe now, kiddo." A large black-hinged door creaked inside clouds of musky pipe tobacco, warm brogues, and glowing logs in the hearth. Patrons all appeared kin-related, whispers of red hair playing at every freckled nose, tweed cap, and woolen elbow-patched shirt sleeve. The two expected their entrance to attract attention, and they certainly weren't disappointed. All took notice. All but one. A raggedy man crumpled in a corner like moth-eaten laundry, bare feet pulled off the stool into his chest. "Evening mead, lasses?" asked a cheery proprietor behind the bar. "What's it made of?" asked Katie. "What's any mead made of, dear? Honey water and yeast." The man poured out 2 brass-handled flagons. "Go on, give her a go." The sisters smiled and excused themselves to sit down at the end of a winding and weathered, lacquered countertop. "Friendly, no?" said Katie, licking off the frothing head of her drink as if it were a strawberry ice cream cone. River didn't answer. 3 bearded locals were smiling at her from the other side of the pub, whispering ear to ear. Both Rollins sisters were nothing short of fetching with their copper-tone arms, Norwegian frost-blue eyes, and bounding summertime locks. But the youths back at St. Hildegard's in New Haven found River more approachable. Not so sarcastic, they would say. She stirred her pinky inside the golden yellow liquid from the bar, unsure she was prepared for her very first sip of alcohol, especially as the 3 Irish youths sidled up to them. "Italians?" asked the first. "Americans. You?" said Katie with a dry smirk. "Born and bred right here, love." "Right here in the bar?" "I can believe it." He played along with her catty remarks. "Lads and I are from just up the road in Lancashire. We know the best spots round. McLagan's Pond, Pagan Moors, me flat if you like." "Your mum's flat, betcha," said Katie. "Oi, hey, best take her slow, missy," interjected one of his mates. River had tanked half her pint in one go. "I feel sick, Cat," she murmured. "Off with you 3. Can you not see these are good Catholics?" said the bartender. The 3 youths exited, and Katie sighed gratefully. "Is there a bathroom in here my sister and I can use, mister?" "Sure, astride that wall, but there'll be no bath in there," the man assured. Katie maneuvered River onto one shoulder, and they shambled into the loo. The ceiling hung squat and low, forcing them to duck in order to avoid a strobing fluorescent light dangling by a wire. There was a single pit in the floor with no sink and iffy running water. Stains marred the flooring. Pipes were shorn between bleeding plaster sheet wall. Rusty metal privacy stalls had been slashed and cleaved by the claws of some hulking demon. Graffiti was on brand, too, very same as the accursed sheep gate they'd hiked past earlier that afternoon. "Where's the flusher?" asked River. No matter. She could hold in her guts no longer and fell over the lone chute, expelling every last ounce of mead. Katie squirted a bottle of French perfume from her handbag, hoping against hope to remedy this musty space while she waited for nature to run its course. A loud snarl erupted, and the door dented as though someone had thrown all their mass against it. "Wait your turn, cow!" Katie bellowed. Cow? Just a minute. Hadn't seen any females. Had they? Better not be a unisex toilet. No, they simply must have missed this gal when they came in, or maybe she just got here and really needed to go. Probably the mead. Katie looked down at her baby sister, rubbing a soothing palm across her heaving back. Rude, no? River wasn't ready to speak, her throat burning with stomach acid and sick. "At least you've got a story to tell. And don't think I didn't notice you're wearing my blue jeans, by the way." 5 minutes later, Katie was helping River struggle back into the bar, where they were stunned by what they beheld. Nothing. No patrons, no string-plucked music, no hearty laughter, nor the scent of moist, pungent smoke. All the lights were dead, the fireplace stone-cold blue as a centuries-old corpse. Not a soul anywhere. Where'd everyone gone? "Hello?" Katie chanced. "What's going on? Did they close up shop already?" River now wanted to know. Katie slowly shook her head from side to side. "No pub closes this fast. Got a sweep, count the till. Maybe there was a flash flood or something, and in the emergency evacuation they forgot we were still here." A squawking feral crow sat perched atop a cracked mirror over the bar. The bellies of several ale kegs were busted wide open, with contents dried long, long ago. Lamb and kid heads had been mounted over all 4 walls, cobwebs spanning the length end to end. "Don't recall that mirror being broken when we came in," whispered River. "And what kind of a big game hunter mounts baby farm animals for trophies?" asked Katie. The sisters moved outdoors into a windy downpour, slapping and stinging their cheeks till they were raw and rosy. Homestead storm shutters were rattling in the gales like a portrait of 17th century poverty. None of the streetlights that had welcomed them earlier now offered even a faintest hint of glow. It was as if this township had never been wired for electricity. "We'll go door to door till someone opens up for us," Katie advised. "Let's just go back inside the bar and wait," River argued between eye-blurring gusts. "Wait for what, River?" "For someone to come and save us." Hailstones mixed with sleet, driving them back the way they'd come. Only the door handle jammed, refusing re-entry. Worse, there was a condemnation and abandonment order nailed above it. Place was a neglected orphan of a ruin, broken windows, smashed crossbeams. The carved lamb's head teeter-tottered off the lintel and splashed into the ooze at their shoes. A vault of purple skies dropped voltage onto rooftops of scattered weather vanes and for a brief instant revealed a silhouette at the end of the road, eyes vexed. "I remember you from the fields this afternoon by the sheep gate," decried Katie. "I'll describe you perfectly for the police." She didn't really know whether or not it was the same man, but chose to posture. You know the way you're taught to stand tall and hold your ground against a black bear. He didn't move. Was he real or a statue? "Maybe he can help us, Cat." "No." "Run, River, run!" The sisters fled into the night, climbing up and over whatever collapsed fence posts dared get in their way. Leafless trees tore at their faces as they pushed deeper into the mire, forcing them to hide under their armpits for protection. A burping bog ate Katie's leg, vanishing to the hip bone before spitting out a shoeless bobby sock spoiled in grime and worms. River retraced her steps and helped her sister back up, and they stumbled forward onto Stonewaller Bridge at the edge of civilization. Here they were cut off by the old coot standing at the far end. He'd been stalking at a distance, but was now somehow before them. "Got any more of your sweet-smelling perfume, me little milk marm?" he growled. A human changing into a wolf conjures revolting disfigurations for most of us, whether fairy tales or movies down throughout history. His was like a time-lapse of a candle into hot, melting wax. Only here, swap out wax for a body exploding insides out before reshaping anew. Moist viscera squirmed into deranged locations. A spinal column peeled off back flesh, birthing forth tufts of matted hair. All told, it was shorter than warming up coffee in the microwave, but for the girls it may as well have been eternity, never blinking once. A life review flashed in front of Katie's eyes. Back in middle school, Sister Wilhelmina had taught the class how caterpillars dissolve into protein soup before re-emerging from their pupa as butterflies. What a peculiar thing to recollect, she thought. It was her last. Next thing Katie knew, she was betwixt dirty claws, stretching and wrenching her nape high into the air, while her trunk, torso, and nether regions stayed put. River's instincts betrayed her, telling her to give up and join her sister in death. Yet surprisingly steely nerves overruled this inner quitter, and she crab-walked backwards on her elbows and rump. It was a desperate act, and nowhere near enough to save her skin from the treatment Katie's was now suffering, falling off her shanks in sheaves of red. This beast knew it needn't rush. The other wouldn't escape. Her fate was sealed, too. Let her meat marinate with fear, while he parsed the leftover pieces of her sister in search of more French perfume. The werewolf trotted upright towards its retreating victim, one crooked forelimb in front of the other, watery egg yolks for eyeballs, drooling muzzle, red-soaked and rancid. Awful panting hit the top of River's scalp, ropes of hot saliva lolling right down where she'd parted her hairline with a comb that very morning. This was really going to hurt. Worse than any previous trauma. Worse than when she'd busted both her radius and ulna as a toddler on Grandma May's tire swing. "It'll be fast," she told herself. "It'll be over soon, won't it?" Her inner coward was winning out, and she resented it. Yet she didn't know what else to do except close her eyes and offer herself up. She wouldn't scream, though. No matter the pain she was about to endure, she refused to cry out. A dripping nose probed her carotid artery for a good place to enter, snipping a hammering pulse under her pink sweater. The first spray of River's warm blood came from a tender vein at the base of her neckline. Didn't hurt so bad, like a cub's scruff inside its mama's jaws, or a rag doll being neatly posed on a stool. She was positive the next bite wouldn't be nearly so gentle or kind. "Carbuncle Crane!" Ram Metal, a soft-cheeked Viking-looking chap, raised his W.J. Jeffrey 8-bore elephant rifle and reduced the devil's maw to a shaggy plume of red particulate. A decapitated canine fell supine before a humanoid body rolled over prone. River fainted. Miraculously, she was still breathing. "Gone? What do you mean, gone?" Ram's voice shattered the cathedral hush of the ICU, a hum of ventilators breathing and rebreathing down rows of patients' rooms. "Shush! She's going back home to America," said Dr. Sidebottom. Ram protested by slamming himself seated in a waiting room chair. "Are you mad? Her bandages are still wet. She cannot fly. If I were her family, I'd sue you for medical malpractice." "Calm down now. You're still full of beans over tonight's excitement." Ram exhaled with a labored breath. "It was old Carbuncle Crane. Murdered that poor girl's sister." "Who told you anyways?" "You think things like this stay quiet? Not round these parts, don't you know, boyo," said the doctor. "And Devlin Azul says you'll be facing an inquest first thing tomorrow, though no one's likely to be mourning that family." Ram leapt back up to his feet. "Devlin Azul? You let the mayor take her? This is all so improper, and you knew it." "None of us wanted to. We were strong-armed, if you take my meaning. Anyways, she's sedated, isn't she? And her injuries are mostly superficial bite wounds," explained Dr. Sidebottom. Ram leaned close to the doctor. "We cannot let her leave." "You in love with her, Ram?" "She's a danger now. She'll change." "Change? How?" "Would you stop being so coy? We cannot let outsiders in our local business. Gotta handle this here. Come with me." "All right." Devlin Mazul and his brothers booked her on the first flight back home to America. But you did not hear it from me. Ram lugged his camouflage duffel aboard Flight 118, a plump stewardess escorting him over to a first-class seat. Practically had the entire section to himself, save for some business burnout waiting irritably for Scotch service. While there was no way of being 100% sure River was on this plane, ticketing agent refused to say, of course, Ram had spotted Devlin Mazul and his brothers loitering near the gate, and this was the first available flight to the States. Put it all together, and she was more than likely on board. Somewhere. Had to wait till the seatbelt light flashed green to be sure, though. Crew was adamant on that point. Ram's face peeked out his window seat as 18 wheels lifted off the face of the earth. At 38,000 feet and climbing, Captain Monroe and co-pilot Beauregard freed passengers to move about the cabin. Ram didn't hesitate, following the footlights towards a rear latrine, scanning each face in the dim light of an in-flight rom-com playing over every seatback and tray table. For a tick, he thought he might have found her in seat 21F, but it was a preteen boy with blonde punk locks. It occurred to Ram he wouldn't know what to say to River if he did find her. How exactly was he supposed to convince this teenager to turn around, get right back on an aircraft, and fly back to the place where her sister had just been torn to shreds? Would she even remember the attack? A lot would depend on how hopped up she was on sedatives. Ram reached the toilet where a queue snaked down the aisle. He overheard an elderly woman in front of him. "There's something wrong with that girl. I'm a nurse, and I'm telling you, I'm worried for her." "Excuse me," Ram interjected. "Is she a blonde?" "Please, sir, stand back. I'll handle this," said the stewardess, rapping beefy knuckles over the red occupied light. "Sweetie, are you doing all right in there? Do you need help?" A guttural howl replied, pinched and whimpering. The narrow plastic booth shivered and spasmed. Everyone backed off, way off. Suddenly no one was interested in holding a conversation with whatever was opposite this thin door slider. The entire passenger roster, sans one, tossed themselves into the front of the fuselage like a vending machine salad. Stampede wasn't rational. It was herd instinct. Only a few even knew what all the commotion was about. Weight redistribution caused the co-pilot to sprint from the cockpit. "What the devil is going on here? Return to your seats immediately!" "There's something wrong with a passenger in the rear commode," explained the plump stewardess. "Details, woman!" "Possessed. Doesn't sound like a girl anymore," added the elderly nurse. Co-pilot Beauregard's face went the color of a springtime bedsheet. He gazed up and down the way, tentative and uncertain, but coaxed his wingtip soles to march ahead, undaunted. No one mustered a word, awaiting his report. The other first-class passenger, a haggard old chap that went by Preminger, spluttered something about the man probably having met a sticky end. This was greeted by a chorus of scowls, telling him it was in very poor taste to even hint about such things. Preminger then proposed a plan, more from embarrassment than heroism. "Well, maybe some of us ought to gather up and go have a look then." Before anyone could react, the co-pilot lurched into the open, breathless under a clenched, sweaty jawline. His striped uniform sleeve was torn, and the arm underneath was bleeding. "Oh, you stay here. No one's to even think about going back there for any reason." He resealed himself and the captain inside the cockpit. The stewardess wrapped her fingernails on her forehead, summoning all her training hours for something useful to do. The preteen with the blonde punk locks speculated whether the girl hadn't fainted back there, leaving Ram to ponder if she'd transformed in the first place. Maybe her pain meds had plumb worn off. Before long came the first complaints of hunger, which soon gave way to the word dinner. Salty peanuts, diet sodas, booze, foil-wrapped meals, and ovens all awaited them at the far end. It was agreed they'd ignore co-pilot Beauregard only for a minute or two, form an armed posse of brave souls, and go rummage. "What will you arm yourselves with?" Ram asked. "Your inflatable seat cushions and whatever spare and sundry flotation devices you can get your hands on." "How about this?" said Preminger, hoisting a cherry-red fire extinguisher over his gob. "You really going to bash that poor girl with that?" Ram replied with scorn. "She's sick after all." "Only if it comes to it," said the old businessman. "Otherwise we'll help her if we can. But we bring the foodstuffs back here first." Many nodded until most agreed. "All right," said Ram. The two first-class passengers forged ahead with well-wishers at their backs. The area was low-lit, movie still playing. Preminger moved heel-toe into the lead, Ram tailing right behind. Speaking of tails, something curved and bushy was swaying to and fro from the coach mid-row. It was the arms of a faux fur blowing in an open air vent. Preminger double-clutched the fire extinguisher with a sigh. Ram didn't like this at all. Felt the man was far too eager to take a swing at River. Guess Doc Sidebottom had him pegged after all. Seemed his feelings were something like a lifeguard smitten with his pretty, rescued swimmer. Could you really blame him? She was quite a catch compared to the gangs of gal pals tagging around back home, and Ram estimated he was only 5 or so years her senior. They reached the back of the plane, and Preminger began loading a food cart. Slow down," said Ram. "You want chicken and fish popsicles? We got to cook these at 4:25 for at least half hour." Preminger sneered at Ram. "Are you crazy? Not waiting around here no half hour. Grab snack bags and carry on liquor. I mean to get well and proper sauced." They finished stacking a handcart overflowing with non-perishables and beverages of every sort. This is when Ram decided to flirt with temptation. "River, can you hear me? What do you want? Her number? Don't disturb her." Ram gestured at the slide door. Preminger only now realized the unoccupied light was dark. Ram shoved the hatch wide open with one bold thrust. Toilet was empty. Preminger mouthed some curse words and an odd blasphemy or two. "Look at all the hair!" Ram didn't have time for it. He only wanted to know one thing. Where was she now? He withdrew without another word. "What do you be doing now?" asked the older man. His younger companion slipped inside a laddered service well, disappearing into the aircraft's underbelly. Preminger turned and rolled the snack cart back towards first class with a tisk-tisk, a fat leprechaun with his pot of gold. Up front in the cockpit, Captain Maureen Monroe informed her co-pilot that emergency services were standing by at Connemara. "Let's come about. Make our heading 219er. Their course didn't veer an inch. She heard co-pilot Beauregard bumping around behind her chair. Goofy, unreliable git. If she ever ran into the instructor that had signed off on this guy's wings. "What are you doing back there? Come on, man. Give me a hand here, will you? Better just let George fly." She flicked a switch on the console and removed her headset. By now, the passengers outside the cockpit had already put a respectable dent in the cookies and crackers Preminger had rescued. When asked about Ram, he mumbled something about finishing whatever he was doing in the toilet. The mood became a hip social occasion as the stewardess started passing drinks on cocktail napkins. That died when a wild paw and forearm of sweating sinews and spaghettified hairs punched through the cockpit as if it were made of styrofoam. The plump stewardess caught a half glimpse of the co-pilot through his freshly created hole, the late Captain Monroe wedged between foaming fangs. Ram brushed by some attendants' uniforms hanging from footlockers like so many silent figures. He moved determinedly, but not hurriedly, because ahead was the distinct moaning of an animal, warning him, then ceasing. Here were crates and cages for pet travelers, and River Rollins crouched on the floor, a partially digested Shih Tzu under her chin. "I'm so hungry, mister," she said apologetically, looking up with silver-toned pupils like road reflectors on a midnight highway. "It's not your fault. You poor creature. You've been through so much." He desired to take her by the shoulders and hold her. "You know me?" she wondered. "Yes, and you know me." He took her head, cleaning carnage from her lips with his sleeve. "You've got to trust me. In our village, we can help people with your sickness." "Am I sick?" "You're a werewolf now. A female attacked by a werewolf. But I'll take care of you, River. I want to." Ram produced a vial of fragrant oil from his inside vest pocket. River began to tremble upon sight of it, then seizure. Her body only relaxed once the ointment seeped under the gauze of her neck wounds. Ram helped River out of the undercarriage and towards the front of the plane, her arms draped over him for support. It made her think of her sister back at that Irish pub. It made him think how much he wanted this feeling for the rest of his life. As they neared the first class, arm in arm together, Ram couldn't help but notice the quiet. With a steady palm, he drew the first class curtain, exposing the horror. Gooey, smeared gore crisscrossed walls of dents and punctures. Something had blown the cockpit door off warped hinges. Autopilot was blinking near the pitch controls, a set of headphones torn from its jack and flopped over the yoke sticks. River recoiled as Ram nabbed his camouflage duffel off his seat. "Wouldn't happen to be a pilot?" he asked. She shook her head. "Well, in that case..." Swollen overhead compartments burst open with chunks of passenger kibble spilling out like bits and pieces of clowns from a compact Yugo. Bizarrely, Inexplicably, the former co-pilot, Ollie Beauregard, had stuffed its obscene form up there, now finding itself completely wedged. What a dumb, stupid animal, Ram thought to himself. Only he knew this situation couldn't hold for long. Already a hind foreleg had pierced the plastic bins, kicking and clawing at the air for leverage. What Ram wouldn't give for his granddad's W.J. Jeffrey 8-bore elephant rifle right now. "What do we do?" asked River. "Came prepared," said Ram. From his camouflage duffel, he strapped harnesses over his shoulders and attached River tightly to him via buckles. Then they duck-walked tandem over to the emergency exit just as the werewolf broke into the open, slathering and lathering down the front of his chest mane. "This doesn't look like such a hot idea. Are you sure?" she asked. "It's either this or that. Which one you want?" he asked. "Don't worry. I was in the Army." "Not the Air Force?" replied River. The ghoulish mutation was now charging on all fours. Ram winked at River and stole a kiss from her lips. He then ejected an aluminum plastic hatch cover. A vortex of wind sucked the couple into the nighttime air. Ram pulled the ripcords, and with a jerk, River felt they were floating like an autumn cloud. "This chute is double-sized what we got at basic training," Ram hollered over the wind shear with a white, toothy smile. He really wanted her to trust him, and she did. River rested her head against his chest as the two descended, a fiery light on the horizon as Flight 118 crashed headlong into the North Atlantic. "It's going to be us too," said River. "I'm going to freeze." "We just have to keep each other warm then," said Ram. "And I brought a satellite phone." He reached his offhand into his cargo pants pocket, causing the vial of quicksilver to dislodge and tumble into the ocean far below. Ram looked down at River, then up at the sky. An eyelid of fog parted, revealing a swath of silver moon leering back at him. There was still 30,000 feet more to go.